Next question, or did you want to say anything?
No, I don't.
Has the Planning Commission approved the final draft of the comprehensive plan or just recommended it to City Council to approve or adopt it?
It is a recommendation. We have a chance to have input, you know, individually, but it all has to be agreed to by the rest of the council. So, yeah.
Question about a new citizen task force. It'll be the second one, of course. When can we start selecting members for a new citizens task force to finish the unfinished waterfront park? And what would the process be for selecting members, citizen members of that task force?
Well, you know that Planning Commission has changed a lot since Al Riator was there. The last process for the comprehensive plan was we had 3 task forces. We had forces. There was one in the North District. I served on one in the Central District, and there were about 25 or 30 people on each one. When I questioned our new director of, and of course there was one in the South District, and then they came together as a full planning body, utilizing the information from each of the 3 districts. That process has changed. Now, I think there were maybe 4 or 5 people from the North District, same thing from Central. So the whole task force was not any larger than, say, 25 or 30 people. And they, when Mr. Bory was here as a city manager, they hardly met at all. In fact, they came up with a plan, and he asked for a copy of it and then proceeded to change a lot of the things in it. He was our city manager before this city manager. And so it became, and then they did not have the task force meet that often. So the whole process of planning for the city changed with this comprehensive plan. It's a whole new model, according to Sheila McAllister, who is the planning director now. It's what they do across the country. This is the new way of doing planning. Did you understand that?
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with it either, but...
And I think most cities involve citizens to a great extent in their planning, and it's a huge mistake not to do that.
I agree, and I think you ought to speak to that too, because that means this plan was done by, not like when I was on that commission, on that task force, if you will. There were way over 100 or 150 people who came up with, you know, representing our constituency. This little group, you know, as I said, first of all, Mr. Bury made sure they didn't meet, and when they did and came up with something, what they came up with was the opinions of just a few people. And that's not right. I did not agree with this, and I do not agree with this new way of planning for a city of this size. You know, 30 people should not be doing the plan for the whole city. So I think you ought to speak to that too, because how many of you felt represented there?
My sister was on it.
You what?
My sister was on it.
You felt represented. Well, good for you. So, you know, but I think the common sense says that we need to be better represented on that, more citizens. And the more citizens who are involved, the better city that we will have. That's the whole bottom line. The more of you who are involved, we're going to have a better city. So.
Do you want to add to that, Dave?
I agree that the more people who are involved in planning, the better that planning is. We need to listen to all of the voices in our city, and we need to build a consensus for where we need to move forward. It should not be planning in secret by a small group of people. That being said, if we're not doing things well now, I look forward to working with Pat and seeing how we can make things better.
Great. Another question, when will the CIP have a line focused on the unfinished parks, the City Farm waterfront? And why is there no line there in the CIP? The CIP is the, somebody explains that.
Capital improvement plan, yeah. Capital. That's the capital improvement plan, and it's usually a 5-year plan for the future, and say the park ought to be in it now, but it's not in the next 5 years. We can change that every year when we listen and we read and vote on the CIP, the next CIP, all the capital projects that we have in the works now. And of course, you know, schools is part of that. They have a part of the budget. They have their own CIP. And then there's the operating budget that's where we operate the city. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, things were a little dicey because there was some over prediction of revenue and under prediction, or overspending and an over prediction that we would get that money back. So we have been stressed for the last couple of years, I have to tell you. But I think we're in a good position. We have a wonderful person, Lisa Cipriano. They don't come any better than that. And I mean, she is fine. She's our person in charge of all the money, and she is wonderful. Her whole department is. So I have absolute confidence, and we have to request that, and you can request that it go into the CIP now.
Is that something city council could request, or
Yes,
is that
yes,
city council
and
person?
yes, and I can request that, but it's good to hear from you that we want that in the plan. Now, having said that, I am going to also say that I think it would be a great idea if you all started a foundation where people could make contributions. Riverview Park Foundation. Get in some of these wills of these people who've got a lot of money. You know, and I think that's a good idea, even if it's not a lot. If people will give something, that's showing interest. You know, as I said to somebody who was running this last time, you know, if you don't invest in yourself, why should you think somebody else should invest in you? You know, that's why you make a contribution to your own campaign, because you have confidence in yourself. So it's very important that we have a revenue source that would be there to do some extras. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything, but I would think that it would be something that you would need to have, you know, available for people who really care about parks and recreation and be able to make a contribution to. I'll give you 25 at least.
We got that on tape.
I'll also make a contribution.
All right.
I think it is important for you to step up and begin building a financial base with a foundation. I think that will pay dividends for you in the long run in getting this to be the kind of park that Newport News needs. At the same time, I realize that money is tight for a lot of families here, and give what you get, you know. But I think it shows that there is a commitment to people when people are willing to give some money and not just their time. When we consider the capital improvement plan, I would like to see some money put in for the park. I think that there hasn't been a lot of excitement there because of some of the cash flow shortages that we've had, but also because there hasn't been the will in the city council to move this project forward. We need to work to change that attitude, to get people on board with this project, and then I think you will see the kind of funding from the city that we will be able to provide.
Wonderful. You know, you could start out with just, all we need is a couple of trails and maybe a ranger there a little bit. It wouldn't have to be millions of dollars to start out with.
No. And the other thing is, planning department, I'm sure, will have funds that they've already expended some for planning. You know, everybody says we want this process. Well, that's an excuse. That's to avoid things, you know, that isn't, it really doesn't. Process is about doing something, and that's an excuse to put it off. But I know that planning will have to put some money into, the planning department will have to put it in there. So, or we'll have some funds whenever they engage with the American Planning Association. I think that is, they've already designated 25,000, is it?
I don't know, but it's called a community planning action team that they do. They bring in people from all over the country, and they do meet with the public and everything.
Right, right. But there is some funding that has already been put in for that process.